So a little over 3 weeks ago, as we all know, I talked about it at the time, Fani Willis responded to Jim Jordan's request from the House Judiciary Committee, where Jim Jordan said, "Give me all of the information that you have acquired in your investigation into Donald Trump." Fani Willis on September 7th responded to Jim Jordan's request and not only told him no, but she actually had to explain the law to him and then told him where he can go buy a book and how much it costs so that he can understand Georgia law just a little bit better. She absolutely humiliated and obliterated Jim Jordan in that letter. So it took him a little over 3 weeks to finally muster up the courage to respond to her letter, which he did this week. And here is what he said. He said that her response reinforces the committee's concern that your prosecutorial conduct is geared more toward advancing a political cause and your own notoriety than toward promoting the fair and just administration of the law. Congress in general, and this committee in particular, have a strong legislative interest in ensuring that popularly elected local prosecutors do not misuse their law enforcement authority to target federal officials for political reasons. We can only conclude from your hostile response to the committee's oversight that you are actively and aggressively engaged in such a scheme. He continues. The assertion that a law enforcement entity may prevent Congress from conducting oversight related to an ongoing investigation rests on no constitutional privilege or case law authority, but rather on opinions issued by the Justice Department. There is ample legal and historical precedent contradicting this position. That is, congressional committees conducting oversight of matters that are the subjects of ongoing investigations. And what he's trying to do there, of course, is refute her point where she was like, listen, you don't have authority here. We're a state-level entity that receives no federal funding. We do not fall under federal purview. You have no right to come down here and demand my investigatory materials. I have no obligation to give any of this to you. And let's be honest, Jim Jordan also has no legislative reason to do what he is doing. Therefore, he has no standing to request any of these materials from Fani Willis. And Jim Jordan knows that, which of course is why when he was like, oh, there's plenty of evidence that says like we can do this. And then he didn't provide any of the evidence. Like if you're going to mention evidence or if you're going to mention precedent, I know you're not a lawyer, Jim, so you don't understand this. That's why Fani Willis had to school you on the law. But if you're going to mention precedent, you have to cite the precedent. You can't just go up to a judge and be like, Judge, there was a court case that said my client can totally do this thing and not have to face charges. Well, what's the case? It doesn't matter what the case was. It was a case. It did that. So you got to let him go. Like Jim Jordan is in over his head. That's why it took him more than 3 weeks to respond to her initial letter. Like he had to sit there and think things out, probably, look up how to spell the hard words. Because he doesn't know what the hell he's doing. He has no real reason to do this other than trying to protect Donald Trump. That is what this is about 100% without question. There's no legal reason for him to do it. There's no legislative reason for him to do it. He's attacking Fani Willis because Donald Trump wants him to attack Fani Willis. And again, she ain't having it. She has absolutely stood her ground. She's put Jim Jordan in his place. She has done everything by the book the way that it is supposed to be done. Jim Jordan has no real grievance with her other than the fact that she is clearly good at her job. And that's what pisses Jim Jordan off the most. If this were some nutjob, incompetent prosecutor trying to take on Donald Trump, Jim Jordan wouldn't bat an eye because he'd know they'd have no chance. But because this is a successful African-American woman who is very good at what she does, Jim Jordan is terrified that she is going to be successful in sending Donald Trump to prison. So he's going to throw everything at her that he can. But she has the law on her side and she knows it. So all she's going to do is continue to humiliate Jim Jordan. And he'll continue to stumble and fumble his way in sending her these idiotic letters. Hey everyone, this is Aspen. And did you know that for the low cost of $0 per day, you can subscribe to the Fair and Balanced YouTube channel, We also encourage you to like, comment, and share, but again, click that subscribe button and help Aspen not be so grumpy.